What Trump says he'll do is crazy for business owners. Listen to the end.
Bring it from 21 down to...
They could have gotten Starlinks to everybody with that kind of money.
For almost nothing.
Yeah.
For a monthly charge.
It would have been incredible.
It was talking about from, the standpoint of being in office. I'm in the Oval Office, and I have John McLaughlin and Fabrice, the tax cuts, you paid less tax, or the...
So basically what Trump is explaining here to Joe Rogan is Joe Rogan is asking probably one of the best questions that is barely asked to any of the presidential candidates. What are you going to do to lower the national debts or to reduce the rates at which the U.S. is accumulating debts? Because the U.S. debt is higher than the military budget. The U.S. interest rates alone are higher than the military budget in terms of all the debt that they owe. So nobody really asks them and grills them on what they're going to do to address the national debt. So one thing is, Joe Rogan's like, hey, why didn't you improve the national debt? Why do you make it actually worse? And Trump is saying that he's blaming basically COVID on the reason why it's worse. Because he's saying that the economy was great because of the choices that he said he made in lowering taxes and in lowering quote unquote regulation. So from there, another discussion spinned off, which is really important, especially if you're a business owner, you want to develop real estate, you want to buy real estate, you want to raise money. He said, the reason why this is huge is because we're going to lower regulation. Those who want to do real estate developments, who want to acquire real estate developments, understanding what he means by that is not just the SEC regulation, it's more environmental regulation. Because as you know, Democrats are always saying, hey, let's protect the environment. The Republicans tend to downplay that. And the way that Trump is saying it, Trump is saying how when you have a real estate project and you need to get shovel ready, there's a lot of things that get in the way of getting it shovel ready. Shovel ready, for those who don't know, just means that the deal is ready to be built and it's prepared to be built and they have all the necessary regulations, approvals, licensing, especially with the new ones being added from the environmental side of things. My CFAs and some of the real estate developers we work with have indeed told us that there are new environmental regulations in place that make it harder to do a real estate development. So this is something that I'm seeing firsthand in experience with our clients and helping them prepare capital raises and raise money. And when it comes to what Trump is saying here, this is interesting because it seems to be true in the sense of people that want to raise money to buy businesses, to buy buildings, to develop buildings, have things preventing them from doing that in the form of all this regulation.
Regulation cuts. Every one of them. One of them said the regulation cuts meant more. Who would think that, right? Because you don't equate it to dollars, but it actually is more dollars. We had it going, and then we just had to focus on something else. But there was these two pollsters were sitting there, and they said, sir, if George Washington came back and Abraham Lincoln was his VP, as opposed to Waltz, how bad is he, by the way? But
yeah, he's being a bit facetious, but this is probably one of the best videos of hearing a presidential candidate actually talk. Even though he's being facetious and so on, he's been trained on being serious, it seems.
Abraham Lincoln was his VP. They couldn't beat you. You have it. And I'll never forget it. The following day, they said, something's happening in China, sir. Could we meet? I said, what's happening? People are dying. And it was all around the Wuhan lab, by the way. There are pictures with little lines, the body bags.
Yeah, blah, 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 blah.
The Wuhan lab. I always said that from the beginning, so I was really trying to say, first I said it was France and let everybody, but then they said it was Vacheron Cave 2000 months ago. So we got hit with that, and despite that, we had the best economy. And when I gave it over, the stock market was higher than it was pre-COVID. I mean, nobody could even believe it. But we saved it, and we were...
that is true. But, I mean, under Biden, the economy went even higher. And I'm saying this as somebody who likes this guy, to be honest.
Helping businesses that were dying.
So it's your belief that if you had a second term, given the policies in place, the way the economy was booming, that you would have been able to pay off a lot of the debt?
And if we didn't have COVID, we would have been paying off debt, and we would have had... And don't forget, by growth, the word growth is actually more important because you can have the same debt, but if you double your growth, all of a sudden you're under-levered. But still, we should pay off debt. If you view this $35 trillion...
So that's an interesting perspective. He's just saying that, hey, we had debt, but at least we're growing positively. So the debt becomes smaller as we grow.
right now. It's a lot. But if you look at the asset value, you look at it purely as asset value, we have oil underground, we have water, we have mountains, the assets are so enormous. But regardless of that, the 35 trillion in debt we should pay off, and we would have started paying off debt, and probably even given further tax reductions. I want to get it down to 15%. We're going to do more business, but when you get hit with COVID, everything stops, and you have to keep these businesses alive. The businesses were dying. I mean, they were just dying. This country was going to die.
Are there influences?
It's a good excuse, and it's a good reason to say that that's why I didn't do the national debt. But it's easy to play Monday morning quarterback or Sunday morning quarterback or whatever it's called, because it already. I would be a billionaire if I invested in Bitcoin in 2017 or whatever, right?
Outside of environmental that keep people from wanting to drill for oil and frack and do those sort of things, outside of the environmental concerns, which are legitimate, of course. But are there other influences that maybe over-accentuate or over-exaggerate these environmental effects? Or are people being influenced in a way where they're trying to keep us from producing American oil?
Yeah. So the environmental is the biggest tool for stopping growth, the biggest tool. The other is regulation. And if you speak to Elon, he said the regulation now to send a rocket up to anywhere, even if you do everything, it's become.
I mean, as a business owner myself, I agree, because we assist people in preparing to raise money, and there's a lot of regulation both on the security side. The environmental side only really affects people who are more developers. So I only hear complaints of that, when people are real estate developers coming to us. But I agree that that's a pretty big bottleneck for many business owners, myself included.
Becoming impossible. But they use environmental in order to get people not to do anything.
So this is the most important part of this podcast, in my opinion. They use environmental as a reason not to let people do anything. So I'm really happy about the global warming prevention things. I don't really mind that, or pollution prevention. But I agree that from a capitalist point of view, ironically, a lot of people will make money from preventing people from making money, and they make a business out of it. When you look at the securities landscape, you see that there's a whole business of lawyers that protect people from that. When you look at any new emerging industry, AI, and the regulations around AI, people hire lawyers to make sure that they pass regulation that's really strict. When you look at environmental, same thing happens. Yeah, because the environmental is really important, because people make money off of preventing people from doing things. Like you look in the securities industry, and then you have compliance lawyers and compliance consultants. You look at the fact that one of our chief chartered financial analysts was told that if for some people that are building buildings, the environmental plan is just as important as a balance sheet. So this is at a core. So every real estate developer must build with the environmental at the core of what they're doing. So whether it's good or bad, it could be done more efficiently, is my opinion. You can take care of the environment while also not preventing new businesses from growing really fast. You can definitely do that. But the fact that you're doing this double entendre with making it hard for business owners to conduct business makes it annoying. So I'm not here to demonize environments or whatever. I'm just here to demonize lack of innovation.
So he
did environmental impact studies because, he was a real estate developer. Whether, you say, hey, his father gave him the real estate and he didn't do anything, or you say he's a genius businessman, at the end of the day, he was in the business of real estate development, which is a lot of what my clients at raises.com are doing.
These guys just got environmental get you through the process, and they up in all the capital, and they're trying to make it tougher for guys like me that were builders, because they get paid more money. In other words, I had one guy highly recommended. I was good at getting permits. I was one of the kings. I was very good. But the environmental stuff was always horrible.
So because for clarity, to get shovel ready so that you're able to build a building, you have to get permits, licensing, and approvals from the municipality, the city that you're in. So this is what he's referring to.
Slower project, 10 years, 15 years. Right up in Louisiana, big LNG plant. It was for 14 years. It was $18 billion. One of the biggest empires they laid down on side times 4. Massive. And the coast of the Gulf Coast. And they said they're going to give it up. They shouldn't give it up. They can't get their environment. They had environment.
So he's saying that they couldn't get a project approved for building an $18 billion project, because they couldn't get past the environmental approval for it. So that's what he's saying in a nutshell.
Environmental permits that would fill this whole room up to the ceiling. And they said there was one mistake on one little line. They wanted to do it all over again. It's not going to happen. And I got that permit instantly. And they built this mess.
So it's a good sales. So what he's doing is a good sales strategy also for targeting those who have that pain points, because many people who are watching this video and who are real estate developers and so on, they've been denied their biggest deals because they didn't get approval from some government agency. And this is the thing that really boils at their pain points, and he understands that as somebody who knows people in the business.
So when you're saying that there's people that are making money but making it difficult. You're talking about lawyers, environmental consultants, profit off of dragging out the process. And how do they process?
Yeah, this is something that we see a lot, where lawyers make money off of wasting money because they get charged based on how much time they spend doing a deal. So that's why what we do is try to help people prepare their offer in as little time as possible so that they get past all the legal red tape and are able to raise money for their deal.
Probably do the same thing, to be honest.
How do they do
I would
that?
probably do the same thing if I was honest with you. So as a capitalist, it makes sense for making money, is what he's saying.
How do they make it?
Let's say they go and they convince people that if you have a certain type of plant on the ground that's this big, and in theory, it's a rare plant, and you cannot even touch it. You can't go near it. You can't put a building on it. You can't do anything. Or there's a little puddle, and they call it a lake. And you have to go by the standards of a lake. I said, no, that's a puddle. Oh, you have no idea. Guys are filling a little puddle. You have no idea what they do. And so they use it as a way to stop it.
It's very interesting, and this is the same thing that we see in all forms of regulation: securities, financial, everything.
There's a way to stop you, and also there's a way to generate money. So how they generate money that way, though?
Well, they get fees. Massive.
They get paid to do it.
People rely on them as experts because they're the people that when they have to run these studies.
But some of them are just bad guys, and they're trying to make it more difficult.
And they have a lot of power.
It also prevents innovation.
Yeah, I think they maybe didn't have as much with me because I would get through environmental impact study. I did so much. To build a building in New York is very tough. You got to deal with, think of it, financing, unions.
So financing is what me and my company are more what we're focused on.
All the municipal stuff, environmental. Of all of it, to me, the toughest thing was the environmental, because they could stop you cold with the environmental impact study stuff. And you hire a so-called expert. They say, sir, he's the one guy who can get you through the morass. It's a morass. It's horrible. They use it as a weapon. They use it all over the country.
Right, but there are legitimate concerns about environmental impact, correct? Like, look about the BP oil spill. There's a lot of things that do happen that are environmentally devastating, and you want to mitigate that as much as possible.
You do. Look, I had, during our 4 years, we had the cleanest air and the cleanest water. I view it differently. I say air and water. Remember this. It costs much more to do things environmentally clean. China doesn't do anything.
Right.
When Kerry goes to see President Xi of China, which he probably doesn't even get to see him, but they look at him, oh yes, we will do, oh yes, we're going to do that, no more coal, and then they approve 58 coal plants for the next, they build a coal plant a week. Okay.
They build a lot of coal plants.
But let me just say, though, so here we are cleaning and scrubbing everything, and everything's got the air's got to be pure. But in 3.8 days, that stuff floating over China is right over the top of us.
Right.
Same thing with the oceans. They dump their garbage into the Pacific Ocean. If you take a little cork and put it there, in about a week and a half, it'll be in front of Los Angeles. We're picking up their garbage. So nobody ever talks about that. But
So that's a good point. Because what's funny is that sometimes the environmental studies are not, everything is connected to everything else. So if you go and say that, hey, this state operates differently than that state, and this country operates differently than this country. What's funny is that on an international level, there's very less, there's not a lot of coordination between that. Ironically, as a guy who's America first, he doesn't seem to talk a lot about that himself, but that's a good point he brought up anyway.
in a way, the bigger one is even the air. It's the currents. It's an amazing thing. It's been flowing that way for a million years, long before.
We share air with the whole world. Yeah.
No. If
We
we're
get the
cleaning
Sahara dust clouds over here.
Absolutely.
We get dust clouds in Austin from the Sahara Desert.
But we get to China, they call it the China curse. We get to China curse, they're bad, and their air is dirty. When I went there, I had a great relationship with President Xi. We got along very well.
These people just camping and...
But water, in Los Angeles, you can't get proper runs to work. Right. It's just unbelievable distance. You might have houses in Beverly Hills, and they actually think about rationally what you're doing. I was in the far part of the country with some youngsters who were driving up the highway. And I said, how come?
So from here they wander off into another topic, but in a nutshell, I find it interesting how he focuses on that topic, and I totally agree with the sense of it being something that can prevent people from, doing their deals. This is something that we hear a lot. So if raising money and doing this is something that you'd like to see, make sure you head to raises.com, share this video to learn more.